Hello, future botanists. Welcome to your journey through the fascinating world of plant reproduction. Today, we are diving deep into vegetative propagation, how plants can create new life without seeds. Have you ever wondered how a rose bush grows from a small stem, or how a potato sprouts new plants? We'll explore natural methods like roots, stems, and leaves, and artificial techniques like cuttings, layering, and grafting. We'll start with the basics, then gradually uncover the intricate details, advanced scientific principles, and even the engineering behind these amazing processes. Let's begin. Ready to discover how plants make copies of themselves using just a piece of their body? Let's explore. Vegetative propagation is a truly remarkable form of asexual reproduction in plants. Instead of relying on seeds, new plants simply grow from existing vegetative parts like roots, stems, or leaves. Think of it like a plant cloning itself. The most important characteristic here is that the new plants produced are genetically identical to their parent. This means they carry all the same traits, ensuring consistency. It's a very common and efficient way for many plants, both in nature and in our gardens, to multiply and spread, often much faster than growing from a tiny seed. For example, when you plant a potato, those eyes on it are actually buds for new potato plants. Nature has perfected many ways for plants to propagate vegetatively. For instance, plants like the sweet potato and dahlia can sprout new plants directly from their modified roots, which also store food. Then there are stems, a very versatile part. Underground stems, such as the tubers of potatoes or the rhizomes of ginger, have special buds that can grow into entirely new plants. Aboveground stems, like the runners of grass or the stolons of mint, spread horizontally and root at intervals, forming new plants. And don't forget leaves. The bryophyllum plant is a fantastic example, with tiny plantlets forming right on the edges of its leaves, ready to drop off and grow. Even bulbs like onions are modified stems designed for this type of reproduction. Now, let's test your understanding of the basics. Take a moment to think about these questions. First, what is the main characteristic of plants produced by vegetative propagation? Next, can you name two plants that reproduce naturally using their stems? And finally, which specific part of the bryophyllum plant is used for its unique vegetative propagation? Pause the video if you need more time to ponder your answers. Let's dig a little deeper into both natural and artificial methods of plant propagation. You'll be amazed at the clever ways plants multiply. Let's take a closer look at natural vegetative propagation methods. Tubers, like those of a potato, are swollen underground stems packed with food, featuring eyes that are actually buds ready to sprout new shoots and roots. Rhizomes, such as ginger or turmeric, are horizontal underground stems that produce new shoots and roots from their nodes. Bulbs, seen in onions and garlic, are short, flattened stems with fleshy leaves that store nutrients, and new bulbs form from lateral buds. Then we have runners, like those of grass or strawberries, which are horizontal stems growing along the ground, rooting at nodes to form new plants. Suckers, like in mint, are underground stems that grow upwards to form new shoots. And of course, the fascinating leaf buds of bryophyllum, where adventitious buds along the leaf margins detach and grow into independent plantlets. These diverse strategies allow plants to thrive and colonize new areas. Beyond nature's ways, humans have developed ingenious artificial methods to propagate plants, often to achieve specific goals like faster growth or combining desirable traits. Cuttings are one of the simplest methods. A piece of the plant, be it a stem, root, or leaf, is cut and planted in a suitable medium to grow into a new individual. Stem cuttings are widely used for roses and sugarcane, where sections with nodes are planted. Root cuttings involve using sections of roots, as seen with lemon plants, while leaf cuttings, like those from Sansevieria, can also sprout new plants. Layering is another technique where a branch is encouraged to root while still attached to the parent plant. In simple layering, a lower branch is bent to the ground, covered with soil, and once rooted, it's separated to become a new plant, common for jasmine and bougainvillea. Continuing with artificial methods, air layering, also known as guti, is a clever technique for branches that can't be bent to the ground. Here, a ring of bark is removed from a branch, the exposed area is covered with moist moss and then wrapped in plastic to maintain humidity. Roots develop within this moist environment, and once they're strong enough, the rooted branch is cut from the parent plant and potted. This is popular for lychee and guava. Grafting is perhaps the most sophisticated method, involving joining two different plant parts so they grow as a single plant. The scion is the upper part, typically a shoot with desirable fruit or flower characteristics, while the stalk is the lower, rooted part, providing the root system and often disease resistance. For successful grafting, the cambium layers of the scion and stalk must align perfectly to ensure vascular connection. This technique is widely used for fruit trees like mango, apple, and citrus to combine the best qualities of two different plants. Time to check your understanding of these propagation techniques. First, explain how a potato tuber uniquely aids in vegetative propagation. Next, can you differentiate between stem cuttings and layering, providing one example for each? Thirdly, what are the two crucial parts involved in the grafting technique? Moving on, give an example of a plant that reproduces naturally through runners. And finally, why is grafting a preferred method for cultivating certain fruit trees? Take your time to formulate your answers. Now, let's explore the deeper implications and advanced techniques of vegetative propagation, including its advantages and a powerful modern method, tissue culture. Vegetative propagation offers several significant advantages. Foremost is genetic uniformity. It produces genetically identical clones, ensuring that all desirable traits of the parent plant are perfectly replicated. This is crucial for maintaining consistent crop quality. Plants propagated this way also tend to grow and mature much faster, bearing fruit or flowers quicker than those grown from seeds, which is a major economic benefit for farmers. It's the only way to propagate plants that produce few or no viable seeds, such as bananas or seedless grapes. This method can also be more economical and simpler for certain species, bypassing issues like seed dormancy or specific germination requirements. Furthermore, grafting allows us to combine a desired scion with a disease-resistant rootstock, enhancing the plant's resilience. However, there are disadvantages. The lack of genetic variation makes entire populations vulnerable to new diseases or environmental changes. If the parent is diseased, all offspring will inherit it, and without proper management, it can lead to overcrowding and limited natural dispersal. Let's elaborate on some advanced grafting techniques and the trade-offs. While beneficial, the lack of genetic variation in vegetatively propagated plants means an entire crop can be wiped out by a single disease or pest if all plants are identical. This also limits their ability to adapt to changing environmental conditions over time. Disease transmission is another critical concern. If the parent plant carries a virus or pathogen, all its clones will inherit it, potentially spreading the disease rapidly. Without dispersal mechanisms like seeds, offspring remain close to the parent, leading to overcrowding and competition for resources. Regarding advanced grafting, whip and tongue grafting provides a very strong union, ideal for smaller branches, by creating interlocking cuts that heal robustly. Cleft grafting, on the other hand, is excellent for grafting a small scion onto a much larger stalk, often used to rejuvenate or change the variety of an older, established tree. These methods require precision and understanding of plant physiology for success. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most exciting modern advancements, tissue culture, also known as micropropagation. This technique involves growing plant cells, tissues, or even organs in an artificial nutrient medium under highly sterile, controlled conditions. It begins with an explant, which is a tiny piece of plant tissue, perhaps a bud or a leaf segment, carefully taken from the parent plant. This explant is then placed on a special culture medium where it can grow into an undifferentiated mass of cells called a callus. Next, this callus is transferred to a different medium containing specific plant hormones, which induce it to differentiate and develop into tiny roots and shoots. These small plantlets are then carefully nurtured and gradually transferred to soil for acclimatization, allowing them to adjust to natural conditions. The advantages are immense. It allows for the rapid production of thousands of disease-free plants from a single explant, is crucial for multiplying rare or endangered species, and enables year-round production in a space-efficient manner. It's a cornerstone of modern horticulture and plant biotechnology. Now, let's challenge your understanding with some harder questions. First, can you list 3 significant advantages of vegetative propagation for farmers? Next, what is the primary disadvantage of relying solely on vegetative propagation for large-scale crop production? Thirdly, explain the crucial role of the cambium in ensuring the success of grafting. Moving on, describe the fundamental steps involved in the tissue culture technique. How does vegetative propagation specifically help in cultivating seedless fruits like bananas? Differentiate between simple layering and air layering, highlighting their key differences. And finally, why are plants produced through vegetative propagation accurately described as clones? Take your time to provide detailed and well-reasoned answers. Welcome to the deepest dive into vegetative propagation. Here, we'll unravel the intricate biological mechanisms, advanced techniques, and the significant impact of these methods on agriculture and science. At the heart of successful vegetative propagation lies precise hormonal control. Auxins, a class of plant hormones, are primarily responsible for initiating root development and promoting cell elongation. In tissue culture, a high auxin to cytokinin ratio in the medium is specifically used to encourage rooting. Conversely, cytokinins are crucial for cell division and shoot differentiation. A higher cytokinin to auxin ratio promotes shoot development. The selection of the explant is critical. Meristematic tissues, found in apical and axillary buds, are often preferred due to their totipotency, their ability to differentiate into any plant part, and their natural tendency to be virus-free, even in infected parent plants. Maintaining absolute sterility throughout the process is paramount. This involves meticulous surface sterilization of the explant using disinfectants and ensuring all culture media and equipment are autoclaved to prevent any microbial contamination. The initial phase, the initiation stage, focuses on establishing an aseptic culture and coaxing the explant to form callus or directly develop shoots and roots. This is followed by the multiplication stage, where shoots are rapidly proliferated using a medium precisely adjusted for optimal shoot growth. Following multiplication, individual shoots are transferred to the rooting stage, where a high auxin concentration in the medium promotes the development of a strong root system, either in vitro or ex vitro. The final critical step is acclimatization, or hardening, where plantlets are gradually transitioned from the sterile, high-humidity environment of the culture vessel to natural, open-air conditions, allowing them to strengthen and adapt before field planting. The culture medium itself is a complex cocktail, providing all necessary macro and micronutrients, vitamins, a carbon source like sugar, gelling agents such as agar, and crucially, plant growth regulators like auxins and cytokinins in specific ratios. In advanced grafting, interstalk grafting involves using a third, intermediate stem piece between the scion and stalk. This can be used to overcome incompatibility issues, induce dwarfing, or enhance disease resistance. Bridge grafting is a specialized technique to repair severe trunk damage, where scion wood is used to bridge the wound, re-establishing the vascular connection for nutrient and water flow. Grafting success hinges on several factors: genetic compatibility between scion and stalk, precise alignment of their cambium layers, optimal environmental conditions, and effective wound sealing to prevent desiccation and infection. A fascinating aspect of tissue culture is the phenomenon of somaclonal variation. These are genetic variations that spontaneously arise in plants regenerated from tissue culture, differing from the parent plant. They can be caused by various factors, including stress from the in vitro environment, errors during rapid cell division, changes in chromosome number or structure, or even the activation of transposable elements. While sometimes leading to undesirable traits, somaclonal variation can also be a valuable source for crop improvement, potentially yielding new varieties with enhanced disease resistance, stress tolerance, or improved yield, essentially acting as a form of induced mutation breeding. Commercial applications of vegetative propagation are vast, driving the global horticulture industry. Micropropagation is used for the large-scale production of high-value ornamental plants like orchids, numerous fruit crops such as bananas and strawberries, forest trees, and essential medicinal plants. A particularly significant application is disease elimination. Meristem culture, a specific tissue culture technique, can produce virus-free plants even if the parent plant is infected, because the meristematic tissues are often free of viruses, providing a clean stock for propagation. This is crucial for maintaining healthy agricultural systems and preventing the spread of plant diseases. The economic impact of vegetative propagation, especially through micropropagation, is profound. It enables the rapid multiplication of new and improved plant varieties, significantly accelerating their availability to farmers and consumers. This technology is also indispensable for conservation efforts, allowing for the propagation of rare and endangered plant species and the establishment of germplasm banks, which are vital for preserving biodiversity. Furthermore, tissue culture forms a fundamental basis for plant genetic engineering, providing a system where individual cells can be modified and then regenerated into whole plants. However, challenges exist, including the high initial cost of setting up sterile laboratory facilities, the need for highly specialized technical expertise, the inherent risk of somaclonal variation impacting uniformity, and persistent issues with microbial contamination. Looking ahead, future directions include increased automation of tissue culture processes, the use of bioreactors for large-scale liquid cultures, advanced gene editing techniques for precise trait modification, and the development of synthetic seed technology. While it can lead to monocultures if not carefully managed, vegetative propagation also offers immense potential for ecological restoration by enabling the mass production of specific species needed for ecosystem recovery. Let's tackle some advanced questions. First, elaborate on the specific roles of auxins and cytokinins in different stages of micropropagation. Next, discuss the critical importance of aseptic conditions in tissue culture and the methods employed to maintain sterility. Thirdly, explain somaclonal variation, its causes, and both its potential benefits and drawbacks in plant breeding. Moving on, compare and contrast the economic implications of traditional vegetative propagation methods versus advanced micropropagation techniques. And finally, describe how bridge grafting works and in what specific situations it is most effectively utilized. Think deeply and provide comprehensive answers for these challenging questions. Continuing with our advanced questions. Sixth, detail the 4 main stages of micropropagation, outlining the objectives and key processes involved in each. Seventh, analyze the factors that contribute to graft incompatibility and suggest strategies to overcome them. Eighth, beyond commercial applications, how does tissue culture significantly contribute to the conservation of biodiversity and endangered plant species? Ninth, critically evaluate the statement, vegetative propagation, while beneficial, inherently limits a plant species' ability to adapt to changing environments. And finally, design a hypothetical experiment to determine the optimal auxin to cytokinin ratio for inducing root formation in a specific plant explant in vitro. These questions require a thorough understanding of the topic. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into vegetative propagation. From natural methods using roots, stems, and leaves to artificial techniques like cuttings, layering, and grafting, and even the cutting-edge world of tissue culture, you've explored how plants can reproduce without seeds. This topic is not just fascinating but crucial for agriculture, horticulture, and conservation. We hope you enjoyed this comprehensive journey across 4 levels of learning. For more such engaging and in-depth educational content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates and more exciting lessons. Keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious.